Easy, big guy. We made it.
There was a creature in deep space that no army could catch. Not one. Not ever. For 7 years, this beast slipped through the fingers of the best hunters in the galaxy. Ships from powerful alien empires searched for it. Elite trackers from 3 different worlds gave up. Some of them never came back at all. People called it a ghost, a myth, a monster that only existed in warning stories told to young cadets before their first deep space mission. But the truth behind this will shock you. Because this predator was not hiding in some dark jungle moon. It was not buried under ice on a frozen planet. It was not lost in the black emptiness between stars. It was found in a small, dusty maintenance closet on a rundown space station. Sleeping, curled up, purring like a house cat. And leaning against it, fast asleep too, with one arm wrapped around the beast's massive neck, was a human janitor. A man nobody important ever noticed. A man who mopped floors and fixed broken lights for a living. Here is what you are about to learn. First, why every alien hunter who tried to catch this predator failed completely. Second, what this quiet janitor did differently than an entire fleet of trained soldiers. And third, the real reason this monster chose him, out of every living being in the galaxy, to trust. This is not just a story about a dangerous animal. This is a story about what real strength looks like. And it starts in a place nobody expected. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Deep in space, far past the edge of known human territory, there was an old trading station called HFY 9. It was not fancy. It was not important. Ships stopped there to refuel, buy cheap food, and keep moving. Nobody stayed longer than they had to. HFY 9 had one human worker on it. His name was Sam Colton. Sam was 44 years old. He had gray hair starting to show in his beard. He was not a soldier. He was not a scientist. He was a janitor. Sam swept floors. He fixed leaking pipes. He replaced burnt-out lights. Nobody on the station knew his last name. Most aliens just called him the human. He did not mind. He liked his quiet life. He liked being left alone. But 3 days before this story really begins, something strange happened on HFY 9. A massive alien warship arrived. It was sleek, black, and covered in weapons. It belonged to the Thessarian Hunting Guild, a group known across the galaxy for one thing only. They caught dangerous creatures. Creatures too wild for prisons. Creatures too deadly for zoos. Creatures that rich alien lords paid millions of credits to own. The ship's captain was a tall, gray-skinned alien named Vorn. Vorn had hunted for 23 years. He had never failed a job. Not once. His crew feared him. His enemies feared him more. Vorn stepped off his ship and onto the dusty floor of HFY 9. He looked around at the small, tired station with disgust. This place was beneath him. But his target had been tracked here. So here he was. "We are looking for the Umbra Beast," Vorn told the station manager, a nervous little alien named Tark. "Reports say it was spotted near this system. Have you seen anything unusual?" Tark shook his head fast. "No, sir. Nothing. Just cargo ships. Nothing dangerous." Vorn did not believe him, but he let it go for now. The Umbra Beast. Just saying the name made most aliens shiver. It was a predator like nothing else in the known galaxy. twice the size of a large dog. Black fur so dark it seemed to swallow light. Claws that could tear through metal. Teeth built to crush bone. But the scariest part was not its size or its teeth. The scariest part was that nobody could track it. Ever. Hunters had tried for 7 long years. The best trackers from 5 different alien species had followed its trail into deep forests, frozen tundras, and abandoned mining colonies. Every single time, the trail simply vanished. No footprints, no blood, no sign it was ever there. Some hunters swore the beast could sense them coming from miles away. Others said it moved like a shadow, silent and invisible. A few believed it was not just an animal, but something smarter, something that understood exactly how hunters thought. Vorn believed none of the myths. He believed in tracking chips, heat sensors, and patience. He had caught creatures that other hunters called impossible. He was sure this would be no different. That night, while Vorn's crew set up scanning equipment across the station, Sam Colton was doing what he always did. Cleaning. He pushed his mop cart down a quiet hallway near the cargo bay. The lights flickered above him, one of many small jobs on his never-ending list. He hummed an old song under his breath, something his mother used to sing when he was a kid back on Earth. Sam had left Earth 12 years ago. He never talked about why. He simply worked, ate, slept, and worked again. It was a simple life. A lonely life, if he was honest with himself. But simple. As he turned a corner near an old storage room, he heard something. A soft sound, almost like breathing, slow and deep. Sam froze. His hand tightened on the mop handle. Keswick 9 was not exactly a dangerous place, but strange things sometimes wandered in from cargo ships. Smugglers, escaped pets. Once, a crate of alien snakes had gotten loose, and it had taken security 3 days to catch them all. He should have called security right then. Any smart person would have. But Sam had always been a little too curious for his own good. He stepped closer to the storage room door. It was cracked open, just slightly. Dust floated in the dim light from the hallway. The breathing sound got louder, slower, heavier. Sam pushed the door open another inch. And that is when he saw it for the first time. A massive shape in the corner of the room, curled up tight, black fur barely visible in the shadows. It was easily bigger than any dog he had ever seen. Bigger than a wolf. Bigger, honestly, than seemed possible. Sam's heart pounded hard in his chest. Every instinct in his body told him to run, to slam the door shut and call for help immediately. Instead, he stood completely still. Because as his eyes adjusted to the dark, he noticed something. The huge creature was shaking. Not the way predator shakes before it attacks. It was shaking the way something small and scared shakes when it is hurt. There was a deep, ugly wound along its side. Dark blood had dried into its thick black fur. One of its front legs was bent at a wrong angle, like it had been hit by something heavy, maybe part of a ship or a crate. Sam had seen scared animals before. Growing up, his family had rescued injured strays. He knew what fear looked like on a wounded creature, even one this size. He should have walked away. Any rational person would have called Vorn's hunting crew immediately. There was a warship parked right outside offering a reward, probably a big one, for information about a dangerous animal. But something about the way that huge creature trembled in the dark made Sam's chest ache. So instead of running, Sam did something nobody, not even he, expected. He knelt down slowly, keeping his voice low and calm, the way you would talk to a scared dog. "Hey," he whispered. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you." The creature's head lifted slightly. Two glowing amber eyes opened in the darkness and locked onto him. For a long, terrifying moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, carefully, Sam reached one hand toward the trembling beast. What happened next would change everything. The creature did not attack. It did not growl, snap its jaws, or lunge forward the way every instinct inside Sam screamed it might. Instead, it simply stared at him, breathing hard, its huge chest rising and falling with each painful breath. Sam stayed low. He kept his movements slow, the way he used to move around scared animals back on Earth. His hand hovered in the air, close but not touching. "I know you're hurting," he whispered softly. "I'm not one of them. I'm not gonna hurt you." The creature's ears twitched. It understood tone, even if it could not understand the words. Sam had seen this before in wounded dogs, in nervous horses, in any animal that had learned pain came from hands like his. But this animal was different. This animal was something the whole galaxy feared. Slowly, so slowly it felt like minutes passed in seconds, the great beast lowered its head back down. It let out a long, shaky breath, almost like it had decided, right there, that this small human was not a threat. Sam finally touched its fur. It was thick, coarse, and matted with dried blood near the wound. The creature tensed under his hand, but did not pull away. "Okay," Sam said quietly. "Okay, big guy. Let's see what we're dealing with here." He examined the wound as best he could in the dim light. It looked bad. A deep gash along the ribs, swollen and red at the edges. The bent leg worried him even more. If this had been a normal animal on Earth, Sam would have called a vet immediately. But this was not Earth, and there was no vet on Keswick 9 that would treat a creature like this, not without alerting the hunting ship parked right outside. Sam had two choices. He could walk out that door, find Vorn's crew, and hand over the location of the most wanted predator in the galaxy. He would probably get a reward, maybe enough money to finally leave this dusty old station for good. Or he could stay quiet, help this creature heal in secret, risk everything, including his own safety, for an animal that every hunter in the galaxy said was too dangerous to exist. He looked down at the creature's amber eyes, still watching him carefully. "All right," Sam whispered. "Guess I'm not sleeping tonight." He left the storage room just long enough to grab supplies from the station's small medical closet. Bandages, antiseptic spray, a flashlight. He moved quickly and quietly, careful not to draw attention from any of Vorn's crew members patrolling the halls. When he returned, the creature was watching the door, ears up, tense. But when it saw it was Sam, it relaxed again. "Good boy," Sam muttered, then paused. "Or girl? I actually have no idea." He worked carefully, cleaning the wound as gently as he could. The creature flinched a few times, letting out low growls of pain, but it never once tried to bite or claw him. It simply endured it, watching him the entire time with those glowing amber eyes. As Sam wrapped the wound in bandages, he started talking. Not because the creature could understand him, but because talking helped him stay calm. You know, everybody on the station is terrified of you, he said. There's a whole ship full of hunters out there right now looking for you. Big scary alien with a scar on his face. Real intense guy. The creature's ear twitched again, almost like it was listening. They think you're some kind of monster, Sam continued, tying off the bandage. But you're just hurt. Just scared. Same as any animal that's been through something bad. He sat back, finally getting a good look at the full size of the creature in front of him. Even wounded and curled up, it was massive. Its fur was a deep, almost unnatural black, and here and there, faint golden lines seemed to shimmer just beneath the surface, like tiny veins of light running through its coat. Sam had never seen anything like it. "What are you?" he whispered. The creature simply blinked slowly at him, the way a tired dog might, and let out a long breath through its nose. Outside, in the hallway, heavy footsteps echoed. Sam froze. Voices. Alien voices, speaking in a language he barely understood, but he recognized the tone. Hunters, searching room by room. The creature tensed immediately, its whole body going rigid. Its breathing sped up. Sam could feel the fear rolling off it in waves. "SHH," Sam whispered urgently, placing a hand gently on its head. "Stay down. Stay quiet." The footsteps grew closer. A shadow passed under the crack of the storage room door. Sam's heart pounded so hard, he was sure it could be heard from outside. He held his breath. The creature, somehow sensing the danger, went completely still beside him, as if it understood exactly what quiet meant right now. The footsteps paused right outside the door. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Then, slowly, the footsteps continued down the hallway and faded away. Sam let out the breath he had been holding. Beside him, the creature relaxed too, its massive body sagging slightly against the wall. "That was close," Sam whispered. He looked down at the creature, and for the first time, he noticed something odd. It was leaning toward him. Not away, like a scared animal usually would. Toward him, like it wanted to be closer. Sam did not understand why yet, but he was about to learn something about this creature that no hunter in the galaxy had ever discovered. Over the next 2 days, Sam did something no soldier, no hunter, and no scientist had ever managed to do. He earned the creature's trust. He came to the storage room every chance he got, sneaking food and water past Vorn's patrol crew. He learned the creature's habits. It slept most of the day, healing slowly, but it woke instantly whenever footsteps came too close to the door. It watched Sam's every move with sharp, intelligent eyes, almost like it was studying him just as much as he was studying it. By the second night, Sam had started calling it something. Not a name exactly, more of a nickname. "Shadow," he said one evening, sitting cross-legged on the floor beside the creature. "That's what I'm gonna call you. Seems fitting, considering nobody's been able to see you coming for 7 years." The creature, Shadow, let out a low rumble that almost sounded like a laugh, if a laugh could come from something the size of a small car. Sam smiled despite himself. "Yeah. Funny, right? Whole galaxy's terrified of you, and here you are, letting a janitor pet your head." He reached out and scratched gently behind one of Shadow's ears. The creature's eyes closed, and a deep, rumbling purr rolled out of its massive chest. It was such an unexpected sound, coming from something so large and dangerous, that Sam actually laughed out loud. "You're purring," Sam said, grinning. The most wanted predator in the galaxy purrs like a house cat. Nobody's gonna believe this. But as the days passed, Sam started noticing something else. Something that worried him. Shadow was healing, but slowly. Too slowly. The wound on its side was not closing the way it should. And every time footsteps echoed in the hallway outside, Shadow's whole body would tense with fear, sometimes for several minutes after the sound had passed. This was not just a wounded animal. This was a traumatized one. Sam began to wonder what had really happened to Shadow before it ended up here. What kind of life led a creature this powerful to hide, terrified, in the dark corner of a supply closet? He got part of his answer on the third night. Sam had brought a small handheld scanner from the station's medical supplies, hoping to check if Shadow had any internal injuries the bandages could not fix. As he ran the scanner slowly along Shadow's side, it beeped softly near the creature's shoulder. Sam frowned and looked closer. Buried just under the thick black fur was something small and metallic. A tiny device, no bigger than a coin, embedded just beneath the skinches. "What in the world?" Sam muttered. He gently parted the fur to get a better look. The device had a faint blinking light. Old, damaged, but still faintly active. A tracking chip. Sam's stomach dropped. This was not a wild animal that had simply never been caught. This was an animal that had escaped from somewhere. Somewhere that had once controlled it, tracked it, maybe even experimented on it. Suddenly, 7 years of failed hunts made a lot more sense. Shadow had not survived by pure luck or animal instinct alone. It had survived because it knew, on some level, that it was being hunted its entire life, long before Vorn's crew had even started chasing it. "Though, buddy," Sam whispered, his voice softening with a mix of anger and sadness. "No wonder you don't trust anybody." Shadow's amber eyes opened and looked up at him, almost like it understood the weight of what Sam had just discovered. Sam sat there for a long moment, thinking hard. If this chip was still active, even faintly, it meant somebody, somewhere, might still be able to track its signal. That could explain how the hunting guild had narrowed their search down to this exact station. He had two choices again. He could remove the chip carefully, risking hurting Shadow further, or he could leave it and hope nobody noticed the faint signal before Shadow was strong enough to move. Sam made his choice. He gently, carefully, began the delicate work of removing the tiny device, whispering reassurances to Shadow the entire time. The creature stayed remarkably still, only flinching once when the chip finally came free. Sam held the small device in his palm, staring at its faint blinking light. "There," he said softly. "Nobody's finding you through this anymore." He crushed it under his boot. What Sam did not know yet was that this small act, removing one tiny tracking chip in a dusty storage room, was about to set off a chain of events that would put both him and Shadow in more danger than either of them had ever faced. Because Vorn's scanning equipment had already picked up the chip's last known signal. And it was coming from right inside that station. The next morning, everything changed. Sam was in the storage room, checking Shadow's healing wound, when he heard heavy boots pounding down the hallway outside, far more urgent than any patrol he had heard before. They found the signal location. A voice barked in accented common tongue, the shared language most alien species used for trade. "Storage Sector 4. Move, move, move." Sam's blood went cold. Storage Sector 4. That was exactly where he was standing right now. Shadow, Sam whispered urgently, already grabbing his mop cart as cover. We've got a problem. Shadow's ears shot up immediately, sensing the danger in Sam's voice. Even wounded, the creature began to rise onto its feet, muscles tense, ready to fight or flee. But Shadow was still too weak. Its injured leg buckled slightly as it tried to stand, and it let out a low whimper of painches. Sam's mind raced. There was no way Shadow could run. No way it could hide. And in about 30 seconds, Vorn's hunting crew was going to burst through that door. He had to think fast. Okay, Sam muttered to himself, looking around the small storage room. His eyes landed on a large stack of empty supply crates in the corner, tall enough and wide enough to maybe, just maybe, hide something Shadow's size if arranged right. Come on, big guy. Work with me here, Sam said, quickly shoving crates into position, creating a makeshift wall. Shadow, seeming to understand the urgency, pressed itself down low and squeezed behind the crates as best it could, tucking its huge black body into the shadows. Sam grabbed his mop and started pushing it across the floor just as the door burst open. 3 of Vorn's hunters stormed in, weapons raised, scanning devices beeping loudly in their hands. Their eyes swept the room fast and sharp. One of them snapped at Sam, pointing a weapon in his direction. Human, what are you doing in here? Sam kept his voice steady, forcing a confused, innocent expression onto his face. What? Cleaning. This is my job. I clean the whole station. The lead hunter, stocky alien with rough green skin, stepped further into the room, scanner beeping erratically. Our equipment detected a signal from this exact location. Something was here. Sam shrugged, leaning casually on his mop, even though his heart was slamming against his ribs. Signal. I don't know anything about that. I just mop floors. Man. The hunter's scanner beeped again, weaker this time, pointing vaguely toward the stack of crates where Shadow was hidden. Sam's stomach twisted into knots. That's just old supply crates, Sam said quickly, stepping slightly to block their path. Broken equipment back there. Half this station's junk hasn't been cleared out in years. The hunter studied him for a long, tense moment. Sam held his breath, praying his face did not give anything away. Then, thankfully, the scanner's beeping faded out completely. The signal, weak and damaged from Sam removing the chip the night before, had finally died out for good. Signal's gone, the hunter grunted, lowering his scanner. Must have been a malfunction. Search the rest of the sector, another voice barked from the hallway. Move on. The 3 hunters filed out of the room, their heavy footsteps fading down the corridor. Sam did not move for a full minute, still frozen in place, waiting to make sure they were truly gone. When the silence finally settled, he let out a shaky breath and rushed over to the crates. Shadow, you okay? The creature poked its massive head out from behind the crates, amber eyes wide, clearly shaken but unharmed. That was way too close, Sam said, running a hand through his hair. Way too close. Shadow let out a low, unsteady breath and pressed its head gently against Sam's chest, almost like it was thanking him. Sam wrapped an arm around the creature's neck without even thinking about it. Yeah, he whispered. I've got you. Don't worry. But even as he said the words, Sam knew this was far from over. Vaughn's crew was still searching. And Shadow, even hidden, was still far too weak and injured to move safely anywhere else. Sam realized, sitting there in that dusty storage room with his arm around the most feared predator in the galaxy, that he had made his choice days ago without even fully understanding what it meant. He was not just helping an injured animal anymore. He was protecting a life that trusted him completely. And he was not about to let that trust be broken now. That night, as the station grew quiet and most of the crew slept, Sam made a decision that would decide everything. He was going to talk to Vaughn himself. Sam found Vaughn standing alone near the docking bay, staring out at the stars through a large observation window, his hunting ship gleaming behind him. "Can I talk to you?" Sam asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Vaughn turned, one eyebrow raised in surprise. Humans on the station rarely spoke to him directly. "The janitor," he said flatly. "What is it?" Sam took a deep breath. "The thing you're hunting. The Umbra beast. I know where it is." Vaughn's whole body straightened instantly, sharp attention locking onto Sam. "Where?" "Wait," Sam said quickly, holding up a hand. "Just listen first. Please." Something in Sam's tone, calm but firm, made Vaughn pause. He studied the human carefully. "You have 30 seconds. Sam spoke fast but clearly. He told Vaughn about finding the creature wounded and terrified, about the tracking chip buried under its skinches, about 7 years of running from people who had likely heard it long before Vaughn's guild ever got involved. "It's not a monster," Sam said firmly. "It's an animal that's been hunted and hurt its whole life. That's why nobody could ever catch it. It wasn't outsmarting hunters for fun. It was surviving." Vaughn's expression remained hard to read, unreadable in the dim light of the docking bay. "You are protecting a creature responsible for the deaths of at least 6 hunters across known space." Sam's stomach dropped slightly, but he held his ground. Maybe those deaths happened because people cornered a scared, wounded animal that had nowhere left to run. "I don't know the full story, but I know what I've seen these past 3 days. It hasn't hurt me once. Not once, even when it easily could have." For a long moment, Vaughn said nothing, simply staring at Sam with those sharp, calculating eyes. "Show me," Vaughn finally said. Sam hesitated, fear gripping his chest. But he realized hiding any longer was not going to protect Shadow. Trusting Vaughn, at least enough to explain the truth, might be the only real chance they had. He led Vaughn quietly through the station, back to the storage room. When the door opened, Shadow immediately tensed, letting out a deep, warning growl at the sight of the hunter. "Easy," Sam said softly, stepping between them. "Easy, Shadow. He's not here to hurt you. I promise." Vaughn stood still, studying the massive creature carefully, noting the healing wound, the makeshift bandages, the visible scar where a chip had clearly been removed. "This is not the same creature described in the reports," Vaughn said slowly, almost to himself. "The reports describe a killer. A monster." "Reports don't always tell the whole story," Sam replied quietly. Vaughn crouched down slowly, keeping a respectful distance, watching Shadow's reaction carefully. The creature stayed tense but did not attack, its amber eyes flicking between Vaughn and Sam. "In 23 years," Vaughn said finally, "I have never seen a creature this dangerous allow human this close without fear." It's not about being dangerous, Sam said. It's about trust. Nobody ever gave it a reason to trust before. Vorn was quiet for a long time, simply watching the way Shadow leaned slightly closer to Sam, seeking comfort near the only being that had ever shown it real kindness. Finally, Vorn stood back up. I have hunted many creatures across this galaxy, he said. I have never once questioned my purpose. Until now. He turned to Sam. I will report that the trail went cold, that the signal was a malfunction, as my crew already believes. Sam's breath caught in his throat. You're letting it go. I am choosing, Vorn said carefully, to see clearly for the first time in a long while. This creature is not what the reports claimed. And you, human, showed more courage protecting it than most soldiers I have commanded. 3 days later, Vorn's hunting ship left Keswick 9, officially reporting the trail as cold, the legendary Umbra beast still uncaptured after 7 long years. But the truth was far simpler, and far more remarkable, than any hunting report could explain. The most feared, most untraceable predator in known space had not been defeated by weapons, tracking chips, or elite hunters. It had simply been shown kindness by an ordinary man with a mop and a soft heart, in the last place anyone thought to look. Here is the twist nobody expected. Shadow was never truly wild. Sources within the Thessarian Hunting Guild later suggested, quietly and off the record, that the creature had originally been part of an illegal experiment, bred and modified by a group trying to create the perfect living weapon. It escaped 7 years ago, wounded and terrified, and simply never stopped running. Every hunter who chased it assumed they were tracking a monster. They were actually chasing a victim. And the reason nobody could ever catch it was not because it was too smart or too dangerous. It was because it had learned, the hard way, that trusting anyone meant pinches. Until it met a lonely janitor who never once raised a hand against it. Sam still lives on Keswick 9 today. Shadow lives there too, fully healed now, often seen curled up near the maintenance bay while Sam works, purring softly whenever he walks by. The predator nobody could track was never lost at all. It was simply waiting for someone brave enough, and kind enough, to finally find it. If this opened your eyes to how much strength can hide in quiet kindness, you are going to want to see what happens next in this galaxy. So let's bring it all together. The galaxy's most feared predator was not caught by weapons or trackers. It was reached through patience and kindness. A quiet janitor risked everything to protect a wounded creature nobody else understood. And sometimes, real courage looks nothing like a hero in a movie. It looks like an ordinary person doing the right thing when nobody is watching. That is the heart of every great HFY story. Humanity's greatest strength was never brute force. It has always been heart. If this story pulled you in, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next hidden human moment in this growing Sci-Fi universe. It genuinely helps this channel keep bringing you stories like this one every single week. If you felt something during this story, drop a comment and let me know. I read every single one. And if you love the bond between Sam and Shadow, you will absolutely want to check out the next video in this series, where we follow what happens when the Thessarian Hunting Guild's leaders discover the truth Vorn hid from them. One last thing before you go. I want to hear from you directly. If you found an injured, dangerous creature that everyone else feared, would you have the courage to help it, like Sam did? Or would you have played it safe and walked away? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. That means more than you know. See you in the next story.